Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Critical Reactions with your host, Bryan. We're going to wrap up today with a creative request, which is where a small band gets in contact with me and asks me to check out their works. Today, we're going to be looking at a band called Kalah. We got an email that says, "Hey Bryan, we're an electronic metal band from Italy and we released our debut album in August titled Descent into Human Weakness. We are great fans of your channel and we would like to submit our latest single, Mermaids Cry. It would really humble us to have your reaction. Cheers." Alright, so let's dive into this and see what's going on with Kalah. Alright. Yeah, leaving that space in the lower part. Yeah, the layered vocals. Beautiful line. Really cool way to bring in the electronic elements. I don't know if you guys did that the first time or not. Plenty of chorus variety. Well, the chorus is divided into 4 equal sections with different vibes to all of them. Okay, that was fun. Yeah, nice use of the atonality. Yeah, to wrap up that last idea, nice use of the atonality in the vocal line to increase the tension of that section with the rising music coming underneath. We kind of alluded to that heading into the bridge, but I don't think it was really expanded upon the way that we did at the end that really helped sell the section. Um, let's start with the positives, right? Then I have a couple of criticisms. Um, if you're listening, if you want to hear them, I'll put those at the end. But let's talk about some of the good stuff here, though. First of all, I really love the sheer variety in this. It's interesting to hear how concepts continuously evolve. For instance, I want to point this out because I thought this was really cool. I didn't pick it up until the second time we hit the verse, so I don't know if it was there the first time or not. But this was really cool. So the first two bars of the verse is the guitars doing their heavy riff, right? And it's a 2 bar riff. The second time we come around to it, though, we introduce these pockets of space between the riffs instead of just this constant. What is it, 16th notes? Maybe there's eighth notes with delay on them. I don't know exactly how it's crafted, but the end result is it feels like a series of 16th notes quickly being played. But then we get these pockets where we'll get like 4, 8 16th notes, and then that same amount of space in rest the guitars aren't playing. And then we'll get that same length in hits, and then we get the rest again. And then it brings us into our third line, which is a repetition of our first. We have that full constant barrage of sound, and then we go back into the alternating playing and resting concept for our fourth section of the verse. What's really cool, though, our first section doesn't have the electronic bit in it. Our second section, the electronic bit comes in as a call and response, where we get our guitars. When they're resting, we get the electronic thing, which is another 16th note sort of bouncing around, quickly moving concept. Our third bar, where we get our full guitar line back again, the constant notes, is being layered with the electronic sounds. And then our final bar is the playing and rest back and forth without the electronic bit. So we have full guitar, full guitar, half guitar. For the electric side, we have resting, half playing, full playing, resting. And it's 2 ideas, basically. We have our guitar idea and our electronic idea, and they both have one minor variation to them. And we can layer them in separate ways to create this constant flow where it feels like a fully linear idea, even though we're really only working with 2 ideas. And I honestly think that they're both 16th note concepts. They might even be the exact same thing, maybe just pitch shifted or octave shifted or something like that. Um, but yeah, so maybe we're just working on one idea with several variations and combinations of the variations to it. This is that work harder, sorry, work smarter, not harder concept to talk a lot about in composition. You don't need to continuously write new things. You just need to find new angles to utilize things you've already written. And just a perfect way of doing that that creates this linear sounding verse. Very cool idea. We see the same thing happen in the chorus as well. There is one underlying guitar line that gets chopped up into different ways. The first time we hear it, it's a series of 16th notes. The second time we hear it, it's a series of eighth notes with constant snare hits on them, almost like a slower blast beat going on. And the third and fourth time are actually the same concept, but it's more of, I don't know if they're half notes or whole notes, but we continue to play these notes longer and longer. And here we're basically just getting a chordal floor with laid back drums on top of it. And it's this really cool descent of energy, basically, where we start off with fast playing, we move to slightly less playing with more attacks to it, and then we rest on this, relatively energyless, but it still has momentum and direction to it. It just isn't as it's not sprinting like we were before, and it's really cool to hear this descent down like that, while the underlying key notes, the chords themselves, not how often they're being played or notes that are being played around them, but the key notes, the ones that are going to be on our beats, aren't changing at all. Once again, we've written a core element and have created variation based on it, rhythmically and even note wise, to create this descent through the chorus. Very cool. Once again, it gives it a very linear feel despite it really being based off of one idea. It's just really intelligent composition through both of these sections. And once again, we get the electronic bit in our chorus sits above everything and is just this constant moving section that kind of plays counter to our vocals, which are the other lead element, that are sort of longer held out. It's more of this suspended notes that contrast the frequent movement that we get in the synth work. So yeah, just this core concept of variation and layering to achieve linear ideas with singular concepts is 100% my favorite part about this track. I also really love some of the vocal lines. There's quite a few places where the vocalist does a couple of flourishes. Maybe they'll be holding a note and rise up a half step or so and come back down. Just these really beautiful embellishments to the line. Not necessarily lining up with syllable changes in the lyrics, but while they're holding out a syllable, they'll play around with it and have some runs in there. Beautiful ideas all throughout. Loved every one of them. Oh, yeah, and then I want to talk about, so out of the chorus, like I had mentioned earlier, we have this atonality where the vocalist kind of doesn't really pick a pitch, just kind of, well, I guess it is a pitch, isn't it? Yeah, it's just microtonal. It's between two of our typical notes in Western notation, and it creates a lot of tension. And I was really hoping this was going to go somewhere, and then it just went into the bridge, which the bridge on its own is fine. It just felt like it was taking the energy, and we were going to go someplace with it, and we ended up just coming back down where we were. So it was just a bit underwhelming. But then it led to the bridge, which was a nice change of pace. We kind of had this electronic element to lead us into it, almost like a techno breakdown that led into a metal breakdown that also had a little bit of a guitar lead solo concept going on. It was much denser than most breakdowns. It's really interesting you guys found this middle point between, just jamming on the open tone and creating these rhythmic ideas for a breakdown, something like deathcore would do, and guitar solos of like traditional older or traditional metal, stuff like, 90s metal where the bridge is just guitar solos over the rhythm guitar riff. And you guys kind of found a middle point here where you did both, and that was neat. I don't really know how to view that yet. I think I need another listen to fully digest what's going on there. It almost feels chaotic in a sense, but I think a lot of that comes from my baggage, what I'm bringing into this, my expectations given the music that I heard up to it. I don't think it would be as disjointed or chaotic on a second listen. It was very different from what I was expecting. But different is very cool as well. I appreciate bands who are trying new things. And like I said, I don't think I've heard anything like this. You combined a modern breakdown with a classic solo section and found a way to bring that all together with this, quickly moving electronic element as well. And it just, yeah, kind of bonkers. I'm gonna have to give that a second listen to have a little bit more of a reading on it. This took us into our final chorus, which I don't think changed anything except that on the way out, We did that microtonal vocal line again. That increased the intensity, but we stuck with it this time, and we allowed it to ramp up the tension until we hit the end of the song. This is the sort of ramp up that I wanted coming into the bridge. I think if you had just done another 4 to 8 bars and continued this ramping up and took this energy into a first note and dropped it down into the breakdown that you had, that would have really worked. You take that energy that you have and find a way to bring it down rather than just letting it dissipate and returning back to where you were. And then my only criticism, I said I had some, I kind of buried the lead. I only have one. It's the mix. I acclimated to it by the time the song ended, but for the first 2 minutes, I mean, probably like the first half of the track, I really wanted more out of the vocals. It sounded like they were being drowned out. Now, this completely comes from expectations. Having a female vocalist on top of almost, well, it's not a chugging guitar riff, is it? But anyways, the type of guitar work you have with the clean female vocals above it remind me a lot of symphonic metal, and symphonic metal tends to have a very specific mix to it. Almost a pop style mix where the vocals are more present in the sound. So I'm bringing these expectations to your music. And I felt that the vocals were just drowned out a little bit by the music around them. So, completely biased here. Like I said, I acclimated to your sound by the end of the track. If you guys are enjoying the sound that you're working with, stick with it. Maybe you've already tried having the vocals being more prominent in the mix and you didn't like it, so you moved away from it. That's completely fine. But that was my gut reaction to hearing the sound, and it stuck with me for a little bit, was that the vocals needed a little bit more boost. Not a lot. You don't want to drown it out. You definitely don't want to go full pop where the vocals drown out the music. But just maybe half a dB, another dB up on it. Just give it a little bit more oomph. And I think that would be just fine. Not a lot, like just a little, to pull it out from the instruments. But that's also going for more of a generic sound too. So like I said, if you enjoy what you're doing, disregard that entirely. And the same goes for my criticisms about going into the bridge. If you're completely happy with that section, completely disregard what I said. My criticisms are just what I felt the music should have. I'm just a dude on the internet, right? I don't care if I have like 10 million subscribers in like another decade or whatever. I'm still going to call myself just a dude on the internet with my own opinions. That's never going to change. I'm not a musical authority. So just want to lay that out there as well. All right, I'm going to take a look at the lyrics right here, see what's going on there, and then we'll wrap this video up. Unfortunately, I can't seem to find the lyrics anywhere. I was hoping that maybe they would just be posted under in the description. It does not seem that Pure Steel Records did that since it's their channel. It's not on any lyric sites, and I did a quick web search for it and found nothing at all, which might be just because there's also a very popular song called When Mermaids Cry that came up a bajillion times before I even found the first post for this band, Mermaids Cry. So that's just going to make it a little more difficult to find that way. So unfortunately, I can't do a lyrical dive. So we're just going to wrap the video up. Those are my thoughts on Kalah's Mermaids Cry. This is where you all come in. What do you think of this track? Did you enjoy it? Anything you agree with me on or disagree with me on? Go ahead and put those thoughts down in the comment section. Above the comment section is a description box, and there's a link for all of their social media stuff, all of their streaming platforms, any way for you to find more of their music or merch or get in contact with them, any of that. Above that, if you could, like, subscribe, and ring the bell. Make sure you head over to their page, like, subscribe, follow them on whatever social medias, whatever you're in the mood for. All right. Until next time, remember to be critical, not cynical, of the music you listen to, and have a fantastic morning, afternoon, or evening whenever you choose to watch my videos.